Hey guys, in today's video, I want to talk about iOS 18.4. The software update for iPhone has been available for the past 5 days as of the filming of this video. I wanted to revisit the software because I have to say, iOS 18.4 is off to a bad start. There's been so many bugs and issues plaguing this new software update. I wanted to revisit the software and talk about some of the latest issues. Now, I want to start off with WatchOS 11.4, which was released alongside iOS 18.4, but Apple removed the WatchOS immediately after the release for a good 24 to 48 hours and then later reinstating the software for the Apple Watch. Now, we'll never know exactly the reasons why Apple removed 11.4 for WatchOS after releasing alongside iOS 18.4, but there was definitely some issues happening initially with WatchOS 11.4. Now, I also want to talk about CarPlay. If you have a CarPlay enabled vehicle or head unit, I have this head unit right here. As you can see, let's go ahead and connect to this CarPlay unit here. And there's been various reports of iOS 18.4 breaking CarPlay connectivity for some users. Now, if you have a taller display, you may see 3 rows of icons instead of 2. Now, this display here is not as tall, so you see 2 rows of icons here. But again, if you have a larger or taller display, you may see 3 icons. However, many users are reporting that CarPlay connectivity is broken on the latest 18.4. Now, the one issue that I continue to have on the latest 18.4 in regards to CarPlay is that when I use my voice for input, sometimes it doesn't pick up my voice. And obviously, when you're driving and using CarPlay, this is the main source of input, right? Because you want to use your voice while you're driving. So yeah, CarPlay issues continue to be reported. Again, connectivity issues are reported within the latest iOS 18.4. I would like to hear from you in those comments down below if you are encountering any issues with that. Now, I also want to talk about AirPods Max. Now, Apple released new firmware updates for AirPods Pro 2, AirPods 4th generation, and they also released another update for AirPods Max 7E99. However, iOS 18.4 after the release would not recognize the latest update available for AirPods Max. Now, this new firmware update for AirPods 7E99 enabled a lossless audio and the ultra low latency on AirPods Max. However, Apple just recently, over the past 24 hours, has reissued another update for AirPods Max 7E101. And now the AirPods Max actually have the lossless audio and ultra low latency on iOS 18.4, but initially the software would not update AirPods Max USB-C for some users. Now, I also want to talk about third-party applications. So Square, especially Square Kiosk, if you have a business, has reported that many users are having crashes and issues with their services. So if you have a small business and you rely on Square for your transactions on your kiosk, keep in mind that Square themselves has recommended to actually stay away from iOS 18.4 until the issue is resolved. Now, I always recommend users to go into their app store right after they update to the latest OS, head on over into their account here, and then long press here and swipe down in order to refresh to install the latest app updates. But again, Square confirming that iOS 18.4 is breaking their kiosk application, is crashing their kiosk application on the latest iOS 18.4. Now, if you have a business, let me know in those comments down below if you're having this issue. So now I'm going to go and shift my attention over to previous bugs and issues reported on earlier versions of iOS 18, and I want to start off with search in settings. Now, not everyone is impacted by this bug or issue constantly being reported on many versions of iOS 18, but some users continue to report that search in settings is just not working properly for some users. So for example, if you try to search something as simple as AirDrop, it wouldn't populate the results for some users. Again, this is something still reported on the latest iOS 18.4. Now, not everyone is having this issue, obviously, as you can see right there, but some users continue to report issues with search in settings. If you're having any of these issues where you try to search for something in settings, let me know in those comments down below which device you're using, and what version of iOS are you currently on. Now, two additional issues being reported on previous versions of iOS 18. One has to do with the camera. Now, after updating to iOS 18.3.2, I've encountered an issue where my camera froze initially right after updating to iOS 18.3.2, but I have to say that after updating to 18.4, I haven't encountered any camera freezing issues. Now, let me know if you're having camera freezing issues, but fingers crossed, hopefully these issues don't come back, because these camera issues have been reported for many updates now, and hopefully 18.4 will finally address the camera freezing issues and even crashing in some cases for some users. Now, I also want to talk about Wi-Fi. Now, Wi-Fi connection issues has been something happening here in the studio for multiple software updates. Now, with iOS 18.4, I haven't encountered any Wi-Fi connection issues. Now, the previous issue reported was that every time I left the studio, the Wi-Fi would obviously disconnect because I'm no longer in range, but when I came back into the studio, my Wi-Fi wouldn't automatically reconnect to the network when it should. Now, with iOS 18.4, I'm happy to report that Wi-Fi issues are no longer here, at least based on my experience over the past couple of days of using iOS 18.4. Now, not everything is bad. I want to talk about the battery life as well, and I have to say, battery life has been phenomenal for me. I know some users have reported battery drain issues, but I've been pushing this iPhone to the limit, and the battery life has been phenomenal over the past several days, even the past several updates with iOS 18.3, 18.3.1, 18.3.2, and now 18.4 on this iPhone 16 Pro Max. The battery life has been phenomenal. And if we go into the battery section here and we go under battery health, you see right there, I still have 100% battery health 6 months plus after the release of the iPhone 16 lineup, and I'm pretty happy about that. So the battery life has been pretty solid. Let me know how's battery life for you. Now, obviously, we can expect Apple to release iOS 18.5 in the next month or two. But before that update, Apple could release a minor update, iOS 18.4.1, to perhaps address some of these issues currently reported within the latest 18.4. Now, if Apple was to release this new software update, I would say this software would become available sometime towards the middle of this month. We'll have to wait and see, but Apple has yet to confirm any additional updates will be available for 18.4. But obviously, if they do release another update, it would be 18.4.1, and I'll keep you guys posted if Apple mentions anything in regards to this next update. Now, again, the next major update currently in beta is iOS 18.5, and that will be available perhaps within the next month and a half or two. So thank you for watching. Let me know if you're having any of these issues. Have a great weekend, everyone, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.